I thought that the highlight of the film easily was the relationship between, Clark Kent / Superman and Lois Lane.
Yeah.
Like their ideological tension and their relationship, their romantic relationship, the tension there. It was great. Also, both extremely hot actors.
So hot.
Like there was actual chemistry, and I think great casting job by James Gunn for sure.
Absolutely. And I gotta tell you, Rachel Brosnahan, I love her. I love The Marvelous Miss Maisel. I know a lot of people got tired of it pretty quickly, but I stayed with that show all 5 seasons because Rachel Brosnahan is just an incredible actor, and she's so funny. I gotta tell you, her Botox on her forehead, that was the 3rd co-star of that film, Justin. Her eyebrows were nary moving. Nary a wrinkle on the forehead.
Incredible performance, beautiful woman.
But you know what's great is that she was still able to emote so much and like make you really care about this character.
Yeah.
Forehead frozen aside. That is a great actor who can do that.
Give her the Oscar. Rest in peace, Sailfest. Long live Celebrate New London? Justin.
How loose is your goose? How funky is your monkey? Geoff.
And welcome to BANTS. Geoff, how you doing?
Justin, I'm great. I'm feeling good. We had a very chill fireworks evening. Or should I say colored cloud evening?
Yeah. It was not the best fireworks viewing that we've had in our many years here in Groton, New London area, for sure.
It looked horrible.
It was bad, but we had a pleasant night regardless of the quality of the fireworks. It was
pleasant
great.
Is a perfect word to describe it because it was very chill.
It was very chill.
There were no illicit activities.
There never are, of course.
There were never illicit substances, and last night was no different.
Right.
It was just you, me, and Brandy, and Ken for some of it.
Yeah. It's been a whirlwind couple weeks, I feel like, because you were just in DC.
Oh, I love to travel.
Now I'm in Connecticut. Speaking of tour, in DC.
Speaking of tour.
In DC, you were there to watch Cowboy Carter.
I surely was.
So how did that go?
Now, I'm not a religious man, but I got to tell you, that was the closest I've ever come to feeling God.
I think this is the second time you said this, and the first time was Renaissance Tour.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
It was a religious experience, Justin. It was very interesting to be in DC during, the time in which the idiot in chief has signed into law like one of the worst, most harmful bills in American history.
And Independence Day.
Yeah, on Independence Day. Yeah, that's so crazy. So I didn't go to the first night of this tour in DC. I went to night 2, which was on the 7th.
Mm-hmm.
And the energy there was so unlike the rest of the energy that I felt around DC that weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Like we were around a lot of kind of sad people, a lot of government workers who had been put on leave for an undetermined amount of time, or who have lost their jobs entirely. A lot of people who were talking about moving out of the city. So it was like such a juxtaposition to be at like a very large, joyful, and like raucous occasion, like Beyonce coming to town. And it was also cool because the tour and this whole album, Cowboy Carter, was about celebrating like Black history and, basically taking up space. About Beyonce taking up space in country music, which has been historically a white genre in the last century, I'd say.
Mm-hmm.
And like artists who did like, stuff that was not fitting in the mold of like what white country music wanted or what white audiences wanted, and didn't receive their flowers or get the attention due. And so this whole album was about reclaiming that history of country music being started by Black people in this country. And, about Beyonce being like, we should take up space and people need to know our history. So it was really a weird time to be celebrating that. Because it just felt like, totally so different than the rest of the world.
Yeah, I mean, it is a juxtaposition, but as we've said many times, a lot of good things can exist in the realm and in the midst of like really bad things, you know, and it's important to celebrate the good with the bad.
It definitely is. And it was a really fun time. Like, we met lots of fun people, and everybody was complimenting each other's outfits, and everybody looked lit, I gotta tell you. It's just so fun to be a Beyonce fan.
Yeah, people show up to Beyonce shows.
Yeah.
I feel like they're like events, especially these last couple of tours.
Yeah.
It's been like, because they're themed albums and like the whole like horse aesthetic that she's got going between.
Horse girl.
Yeah, horse girl stuff.
Grown up horse girl.
Even before the country album, people were wearing like disco-ified cowboy hats, so.
Yeah, it was a good time. I had a great time. I always love to see the Queen.
Well, Geoff, why don't we get into some hot topics? And these hot topics also have to do with what some may consider, I don't know, pop stars, question mark?
Question mark is really doing a lot of work here.
Why don't you introduce me to the first one, because I'm only remotely familiar with this story.
Okay, well, there is going around right now this hilarious cover of Betty Davis Eyes, the song that was like originally sung by Kim Carnes in like the 80s, I think, or maybe early 90s. And Jojo Siwa has covered it. And Justin, it sounds crazy. Have you listened to it?
I did listen to it in preparation for this episode.
I need to know your thoughts.
Well, okay, it sounds like Jojo Siwa, who like I mean this in the nicest possible way.
Yeah.
But I do think that she is at this point best known for like the viral video clips that have gone around of her performances, more so than her actual music. And this cover basically sounds like one of those viral video clips. She just has this like strange affect when she's performing that seems just like she's trying so hard. It feels like you're like watching, admittedly a talented high schooler perform at a talent show or something, and also the production is like very bizarre. It's like a, I don't know, like electro pop-ified version of this song. And it sounds like something that would have been made in like 2008 and people would have thought it was bad then too.
She got Betty Davis eyes, and she'll tease you.
It's really tough to hear. I don't recommend it, but I do recommend everybody watch on mute the video that Jojo Siwa did for this show, or for the song. It's kind of crazy. She's like a terrible actor. I feel like this girl probably made a lot of money when she was young, doing all her YouTube videos and stuff, and being, from Dance Moms and whatever. And I love that for her. But I do feel like you need people around you to tell you the truth. I'm guessing she doesn't have too much of that.
Do you think she's unaware of like what her reputation is like in the pop sphere? Okay.
Yes. I don't think she's doing this like with any kind of a wink or to be funny. I think this is very earnest.
I mean, when you look at that,
and that's tough.
You look at the single artwork for this cover, and it looks like somebody just made this on like, Canva in like 2 minutes. It's not really like, it doesn't seem like a real single artwork.
Not the Canva drag.
Yeah, I use Canva,
drag.
but like, I'm also not a pop star or trying to be a pop star.
Well, I was just going to say, neither she.
It's like a very simple like script with like a drop shadow. Like it's not.
Yeah, it's bad. It's just really bad. And there's like she's like going for like a 1950s housewife aesthetic in the video. It's very odd.
It's weird because JoJo, she's known for being like queer, right? And then now she's trying to be Sabrina Carpenter.
I do feel like there is like a little bit of like trying to like grab onto this bit of like nostalgia, housewifey kind of trad wife energy that's like going around right now is popular.
That's tough for me.
And I would say that like Sabrina does that with like a twist and definitely with a wink. Like she's intentionally being like coy about it.
Yeah.
I don't think Jojo Siwa has the vernacular she thinks she possesses, and I think someone lied to her several times.
Sorry to that woman.
Sorry to this woman. I love to blend pop quotes.
Sorry to another woman, JLo, who a clip of her, she actually did embark on a tour, one that did not get canceled. This is, I believe, a European tour. There's been clips of her performing a James Brown cover at this tour.
Oh my God.
What do you think of it?
I can't stop hearing it in my head. Watch me. Woo! Come on, I got soul. Watch me. Woo! It's crazy. It's so insane. And I'm sorry. I've seen clips of that, and I've also seen video stills and photographs from her tour. And this woman is so blatantly copying like the Renaissance tour and Cowboy Carter. and it is so floppish, it's so foolish, and it's tired and corny. And I'm like, find an original idea, JLo. Like, literally, there is one video where she has like a huge stained glass window like projected on the screens behind her, which is very reminiscent of Beyonce's church girl setup for that segment of her show in Renaissance World Tour. There's another one where she's like dressed up in like red glitter cowboy chaps and a cowboy hat, and all her dancers are wearing like cowboy paisley, like handkerchief looking tops. And I'm like, this is clearly biting off of Beyonce's whole setup for the Cowboy Carter tour.
Right.
And then like the same, she has like basically the same like gold sequined getup that Beyonce used for several of her shows in this tour during the Renaissance section of the tour. It's just crazy.
Yeah, I mean, the video is funny. I also feel like
it's hilarious.
JLo is at the stage of her career where I don't think she has been trying to do something truly novel or like interesting from an artistic point of view for a long time.
I don't think she necessarily ever was trying to do that, except for, what was that? She had that thing on Amazon, that movie that she did like 2 years ago.
Even that was like a big like sci-fi blockbuster thing. That wasn't really like, I don't know. Maybe it was.
I thought it was supposed to be artistic. I don't think she achieved it, but I think she was trying to do something fun.
What's up, y'all? Editor Justin here. Just chiming in to say that I think Geoff and I are thinking of different movies here. I was thinking of the film Atlas, which was a Netflix sci-fi movie. Geoff is thinking of This Is Me, ... now, a love story, which is an autobiographical musical that features music from her newest album, This Is Me Now. I think that Geoff's right. She was trying to be artistic with that one. But let's get back to the show. Yeah. I guess I'm just like, I don't know. It's not uncommon for big artists like this to do like little covers or little bits of some other artist's song and like mess around with it during these big, they are like big shows.
But you know what, Justin? You got to do it on key. You got to do it on key.
And JLo wasn't?
I got soul. I'm
kind of just like, she's doing, like, people are still showing up to the show and people are in the crowd are cheering when she's doing this and all these videos. I'm like, if they like that, that's great.
They're deluded.
But, I'm not.
These are her stands, I'm telling you.
I mean, I'm sure, obviously, they went to her tour, but.
Oh, damn. Drag.
I just don't feel that. I don't know. It's just like, I don't care about it, honestly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Justin doesn't like that hot topic. Let me tell you, though, there's this one funny TikTok that I have been, and you guys, for sure, because I've sent it to our many different group chats that we're both in.
Right.
But there's this TikTok creator who's called Yvonne Cruz 4893, and she does a hilarious imitation of JLo. She's wearing like Party City tinsel wrapped all over her that looks sort of like her outfit, and she sings it exactly the same. It's so fucking good. I can't stop watching it.
It reminds me a little bit of those videos where they cut out the background music and they just have like these fake squeaks.
1, 2, 3, come on now. Woo, hey, watch me. Ow. Watch me. Woo. I got soul. I'm super bad. Ow. I got moves that make me want to move. Ow, watch me.
That is literally what she sounds like. It's so crazy. Watch me. Woo. Ow.
It is a good representation of JLo's performance.
I love it. I can't get enough. That was almost my intro today. Watch me. Ow. I got soul.
Speaking of another pop star who is arguing on this new album that he has soul.
Oh my God, yeah.
Justin Bieber, Shadow dropped a new album, Swag, to which I asked,
Shadow drop?
What year is it? Shadow drop means like surprise dropped. Surprise
drop
dropped
is a shadow drop, and you said what year is it?
Yeah, we're saying Swag in 2025, like unironically.
Yeah, it's kind of strange, isn't it?
Yeah, there is there's a title track on this album, which is long. I believe there's 21 songs on it. There's multiple skits, and I think it's almost an hour long. But there is a title track that I think uses a sample from Lil Wayne's Swag Surfing, so I think that's potentially where the title comes from. After doing another listen and looking at the lyrics, I don't actually think that this is an intentional reference or interpolation, but I do think that this part of Lil Wayne's song
I smash this verse and I swag and surf, no ceilings.
Sounds a lot like this part of the Bieber song. But let's get back to the show. So Jeff, what did you think of this album? I'm assuming you've listened to it.
I didn't listen to the whole thing.
Okay.
I listened to like 4 songs, and they were fine. They were like little bops and ditties, but it didn't feel current.
Yeah.
Which like kind of goes along with what you were saying about the album. Like it sounded like this could have come out like 5 years ago or maybe 10 years ago.
Longer
It was
ago,
just
honestly.
like nothing groundbreaking, nothing really musically interesting. And I just was surprised he put out new music because like to see his social media presence lately and to see videos of him lately, he seems like very kind of like unhinged and maybe unwell.
It is he's in a bit of a weird place in his career. So I think what you're referencing is that recently him and Scooter Braun, who was his manager for a very long time, had like a pretty public breakup of sorts where Braun is no longer representing Justin.
Right.
And
Well,
for that
Scooter
reason,
Braun seems like a bad guy.
he does seem like a bad guy, but by all accounts, he's pretty professional and like does a good job at being a manager, even though he's kind of an asshole. And who even knows what kind of screening was happening with Justin Bieber's social media prior to this breakup. But
Sure.
whatever was in place then is not in place now.
Yeah.
And Bieber, you know, has obviously been struggling with, I think he had recently announced that he has some kind of like illness that he had been dealing with.
He had Bell's palsy for a little while.
Right.
Like half of his face was sort of like frozen. It almost looked like he had like a stroke.
Exactly. So he had been dealing with that and also like substance abuse stuff, I believe, at least rumored.
Yeah, I think that's like heavily alleged.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a really like kind of alarming video. He like performed, I don't even know what it was, with SZA like probably 2 months ago. And it looked like allegedly he was doing like that like bending thing that people do when they are on fentanyl, where like basically your feet stay planted on the ground, but from your waist down you just like bend and flop over. And at one point SZA, I think, was trying to like actually be like, "Are you okay?" Because they were in the middle of singing. She like grabbed his face and like pulled his head up and looked at him. I think she's playing it off like, "Oh, we're singing an intimate thing," and so I'm, doing like the masquerading of like holding someone's face to show my affection towards them. But I think she was actually like, "Are you all right? Be here with me. Like, we got to get through this performance." It was tough to watch.
So all that's happening in the background of this
Right.
album release. And when it was surprise dropped, I don't know, I kind of expected maybe this will be about his struggles. And instead of that, I think most of the songs are kind of just like throwback R&B, like slow jam type songs. Like especially in the back half, there's a lot of like Pure Moods type, like very like old school R&B type vibes.
Oh my god, remember those commercials? Pure Moods.
Yes.
Delivered to your house for $19.95. 3 easy payments of $19.95. You get 4 CDs of today's biggest tracks.
Literally.
Adult contemporary.
And this album is very adult contemporary in that way. And it's I think it's Justin trying to be sexy. And I mean, I think if you separate his current struggles from the music, I could see people enjoying this. Like I could see like Ben or you enjoying this album like on a aesthetic level.
Wow, Justin said my 2 blackest friends will like this. That's crazy.
I just know that both of you
That's
guys are more sympathetic to like R&B in
sympathetic?
general.
Wow, now black musicians need sympathy, Justin? This is crazy.
You guys are bigger
You really
fans.
got on the pod here and you said, we're doing Trump. We're doing Trump talk today.
I'm not trying to do Trump talk today,
Okay.
to be honest. But
Not what it sounds like to me.
it's a little bit of a weird juxtaposition, a weird like cognitive dissonance thing to listen to this album. And the only times when he does address the personal stuff, he has like these skits with this kind of like comedian Drewski, who is black. And these skits are basically like mostly Drewski talking. And then in the background, sometimes Justin will be like, "Oh yeah," or like, "Mm-hmm." And that's like his extent of his participation. But Drewski is kind of just like, in one of them, he's like, tells Justin like, "Oh, you're white, but your soul is black," based on that last song. This is such black music. And it feels very weird to have like Justin be like in the background being like, "Oh yeah, totally," to that like commentary like on his own album.
Yeah.
Like it would be cool, in my opinion, maybe more normal if Drewski independently was like, "Oh yeah, like Biebs is invited to the cookout. That's cool." But for Justin to like highlight that clip like on his album is strange. And then in other places, he kind of uses Drewski in a similar way where he's like, "I feel like you're just like on social media and you're going through it. And like, that's a normal human thing to do. And it's just weird because you're so famous." And then Justin is like, "Yeah." It's very bizarre.
Yeah, there's like no artistry in that. And secondly, that's simply not true. Most people do not publicly crash out on social media, regardless of their level of infamy or fame.
And if they aren't famous, I think their friends would still be like,
Are you
bro,
okay?
are you okay? Yeah.
Like, what can we do to help? Because something's afoot.
There's a lot of toxic masculinity going on. Like, I think Justin
Yeah.
is like, it makes me feel bad for people to ask me if I'm okay, basically, on this album. He's like, sometimes it makes me feel crazy when people keep asking me if I'm okay.
Yeah.
Which speaks to this, like, again, like male fragility.
Mm-hmm. It's like, of course I'm okay. Why
Why are you even asking
that?
me that? Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. We've never really talked about Justin Bieber much on the pod before.
Mhm.
And it's sort of fascinating because, you know, he was a child star.
Right.
Like, huge star. Probably at one point, like, the most famous musician
Biggest
in
pop
the
star
world.
in the world. Yeah.
You know, like, bigger than Taylor Swift was at that time.
In those early days.
Yeah. So he was, like, thrust in the spotlight. I know there was, like, I mean, I don't know all the details, but I know there was, like, some weird shit with his family. Like, sounds like there was, like, his mom was having relations with people that were in Justin's, like, crew who were, like, managing him. It was just, it sounded all very kind of messy. And, like, we know that he's, like, had some, like, health issues of varying degrees. And, you know, I think it's really, I could imagine it's really hard to grow up as, like, a young kid being thrust in the spotlight and be like at age 11 being like called like a sex symbol. Like, I remember him being
That's
on the
crazy.
Ellen DeGeneres show, and she was like, oh, like, the girls love you. And like, she was basically like pushing this whole narrative of like, well, you're a sex symbol, how's that feel? And it's so crazy to me because it's like, hey, what were we doing? I was kind of thinking about this too, because today I was watching like old clips of like young stars who are still famous now being interviewed back, like, you know, in like the 20 teens. And somebody was interviewing a then 14-year-old Miley Cyrus and asking her like what she thinks of the rumors that she's pregnant.
That's like insane.
I
That's horrible.
am like, how did everybody think that this was like normal and okay to do? Could you imagine talking to a child and saying, what do you think about, like, imagine your little cousin is famous and you have like reporters being like, how does it make you feel when people say that they think you're pregnant? Like,
what do they even?
She's
What's even an answer to
14.
that?
What the fuck would you say? She was more adult than the interviewers or any of her handlers around her. Because if that were my person I was managing, I'd be like, this is an insane question, we're leaving.
Yeah.
But like, it was like, hey, I just like don't think it's really cool for people to speculate about something so private. And she's like, and it's not true, and I'm a minor.
Yeah. I mean, Miley and a lot of other like child stars have to grow up so like precocious. They have to become precocious so soon in their lives. And I feel like, you know, Justin Bieber, I don't think he had that precocious energy. Like, he still seemed like a kid, I think, for a long time, in a way that like people like Lorde, we talked about Lorde last week and how she was kind of a child star, and Miley Cyrus, like, they always seemed like older than their years.
Yes.
And I feel like Justin Bieber did not as much.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he maintained that like boyish energy for a long time until, what was that? He had put out that album where he was like, this is my grown up album now. You know, the Sorry album, I feel like.
Oh, yeah. I think that was after he was like 21 or something. I think that was like, what year was that? Like 2014? 2013? Can't even remember.
Purpose was 2015. That's the one that I'm thinking of.
Yeah. And that was the one where he had like some music videos, but he wasn't in any of them because he was like kind of tired of being in the spotlight all the time.
I think so.
And being objectified constantly.
Yeah.
It is so wild what we do to celebrities, especially when they're like teenagers and children, like fully minors.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I just think it's wild, and I don't think we should do it. I was thinking about this, and I was wondering, because I read that book, I'm Glad My Mom's Dead by Jeanette McCurdy, like last summer, I think.
Very buzzy book when it came out.
It was, and I was interested in it because my cousin, who's younger than me, was really into iCarly. Wait, not iCarly. That's not the one I meant to say.
Victorious? Is that the one?
Yeah, Victorious. Thank you. With Ariana Grande.
Yeah. Clearly, I'm not super familiar with the Nickelodeon cinematic universe, but I think the show that Geoff is talking about is actually Sam and Cat, which is both a spinoff of iCarly and Victorious. Jeanette McCurdy actually originated on iCarly and then went on to star in Sam and Cat. Anyways, back to the show.
And I always remember watching them, like, as then an adult, being like, this is so strange that, like, the way that the adults interact with the kids on screen, how I know it must be to, like, be working on a set as, like, a young person, and, like, you're parents or guardians or whatever are okay with like exploiting your talent and depriving you of a regular childhood in order for you to like produce income for your family. Like it's a very strange and like quickly like can get dark-sided. And I'm just sort of wondering, like, do we think that like kids should be able to do that, and if they are, like, should we have much stronger like child labor laws around it?
Yeah,
and protections for them financially, because one thing that Jeanette McCurdy said in her book was that like she has to still work because she didn't get to keep the majority of the money that she pocketed then as a child. It went to support her entire family.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it's a difficult question because I do think that children deserve representation and art for them as well, you know? So
right.
like, and these were like Nickelodeon live action shows. They were targeted towards children. So like, I do think those things should exist. So maybe the answer is just like regulation and like more restrictions on where the money can go, like how many hours you can work, and like protections, you know?
Right.
I mean, we talked earlier on the pod about that documentary Quiet on Set, I believe, which talked about a lot of these issues, especially with the Nickelodeon shows. It's like horrifying stuff. It's very terrifying. All of this is to say that Bieber right now, in an interesting place in his career, obviously he's going through some personal struggles that he feels uncomfortable litigating out in the public sphere.
Sure.
I hope he's like doing okay, genuinely.
Yeah.
I think the album itself is like sonically a little bit one note. It all sounds like, again, this like all throwback R&B tracks.
Yeah.
Almost exclusively.
Oh my God. I just realized I'm so old because I was like, 10, 15 years ago, this could have come out, and you were like older. And I was like, really? And yeah, like it sounds like it could have come out in like 1999.
Exactly. Like late
2000,
90s. Yeah.
2001. Before 9/11, of course, because we know music changed dramatically after that.
Yes. That's my take on the album, though. It's worth a listen if you're into that genre, I think.
Like I said, I like the tracks that I listened to. There was nothing like super unique or different about them, but they were enjoyable. Yeah, I do hope that Justin Bieber is all right and gets whatever help that he needs to work through his various issues he's facing.
Yeah, and for the record, also thinking about Hailey Bieber, who is now, like, I think inextricably linked to Justin in a lot of ways. Like, this album, he's like made public statements that it's like for her. And it's interesting that the public persona that he's pushing is he's like a wife guy now, you know? He's like, my whole life is for Hailey, you know?
Particularly because like on social, like right now, or recently, like during Mother's Day, he like, in now deleted posts, like said some like really awful things about her.
Right.
Like on Instagram. So it's kind of crazy. And we all know that these songs were probably recorded like a year ago or more. Feelings can change, but like I said, the crash on social is like definitely indicative of an issue.
We see people like this in our lives where it's like the public facing thing that you see that is controlled by the male partner in a relationship is always like, you know, I'm obsessed with my partner. Like, I'm a big wife guy. My wife's the best. I support her and everything.
Right.
And it's like, the less controlled stuff that people see and witness maybe doesn't reflect that, you know? And I think that, again, goes back to that control that Bieber wants to have over like his persona, how people think of him. And he feels as though, clearly on this album and some of the skits, he feels like people are just like going too hard with the analysis of his life. And he's like, I just want to be seen as a wife guy who's like a devout Christian who loves my wife.
I forgot about the Christianity part of it.
Yeah.
We could do a whole episode on Bieber because there's a lot there. It's very interesting.
There's a lot to unpack.
There's a lot to unpack. Oh my God, wait. Did you ever watch that show that I recommended to you many times called The Other Two on HBO?
Have not yet, no.
Justin, it's a half-hour comedy. It's so good. It's very loosely based on like the story of Justin Bieber's like huge success from YouTube. And it happens to this kid who's called Chase Dreams. And the show is really about like the family dynamics surrounding the youngest sibling in the family becoming like a huge child star, and like how his mom gets like a talk show that's like hugely successful out of it, and how his brother, who is like a fledgling actor in the city, starts to get opportunities because he's linked to, you know, his little brother's Chase Dreams, and then his like sister, who's also fledgling and has like tried many different jobs, including like being a really shitty real estate agent, like suddenly becomes like his manager, and then her career really takes off. It's just so good. It's like a very underrated show, and I just wanted to talk about it again because I want you to watch it. I want all my friends to watch it, and I want all you listeners to give it a shot. It's starring Molly Shannon, Drew Tarver, Helena York, It's written by two former head writers of SNL, whose names I cannot remember off the top of my head, but it's very funny. There's great guest stars. Wanda Sykes is a recurring star, and she's hilarious in every scene. She just absolutely eats it up. So everybody should watch that. And it's not my what's good. I'm just plugging it again.
I'll add it to my list, as always. I got a long list.
HBO Max, honey. We're back.
We're so back.
Wait, that's what honestly, if I was in charge of the marketing for HBO, I would be like, okay, guys, it has to be HBO Max. We're so back. Like, that's the tagline to bring the branding back. It would be very funny.
They kind of are doing that, I think.
Are they?
Yeah. I can't remember the exact wording, but they're like, HBO is back. And it's like, now we're calling it HBO Max. It's really weird. It feels like gaslighting, where it's like, you think we don't remember from like 2 years ago?
Yeah. They did finally update my app and the logo again. So I was watching that show that I was telling you about, The Gilded Age, where like not a lot happens, but it's so dramatic.
Yes.
I was watching it last night, had to catch up on the new episode since I was en vacances last weekend, and it finally says HBO Max again.
Hell yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Oh, it says where HBO meets so much more. That's their tagline.
Oh.
That's Floptina.
That feels like
Floptina Turner.
Yikes. Well,
very first.
We have notes, WB. But speaking of Warner Brothers.
Oh yeah.
Let's take a quick break, and then we're going to come back and talk about their newest film, Superman.
Oh my God, Justin. Superman's so back.
So much to discuss. And we're back. Geoff, 2 nights ago, you and I watched the film Superman.
We sure did.
This was a film written and directed by James Gunn, who, of course, is the director of all 3 of the Marvel Guardians of the Galaxy films.
Mm-hmm.
He also directed The Suicide Squad for DC, which is owned by Warner Brothers, of course. This is an important film because it is the first film of a new DC universe, which is a reboot of the DC film series that nullifies the Zack Snyder-led films that began with Man of Steel, which was the previous version of Superman starring Henry Cavill.
Mm-hmm.
This new Superman stars David Cornsweet as Clark Kent, and Superman, of course, Rachel Brosnahan as Lois Lane, Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor, and many more actors and characters that I'm sure we'll get into during our conversation. So, Geoff, before we get into this new film, I gotta ask, what's your history with the character of Superman and past portrayals of Superman in media? Do you have any relationship with this character other than just like his presence in pop culture?
Justin, would it surprise you to know that I grew up watching the Justice League, the old cartoon series?
It wouldn't. I know that you like superhero cartoons. Like you liked the old X-Men show.
Did.
Yeah.
You know how people say, we're a Skechers household. We're a Pepsi household.
Uh-huh.
Well, we were a DC Comics household.
Oh, so you're a DC comics guy.
Well,
I was a Marvel guy.
My dad was really into Justice League when he was young.
Okay.
And in the mornings on Cartoon Network, I used to get up at like 5 o'clock every day when I was a kid.
Wow.
Like on the dot. You know what I did? I went out into the living room and I watched infomercials. I watched TV Land, and then I watched like Cartoon Network because they had the Hanna-Barbera cartoons.
Saturday morning cartoons. Yeah.
Oh, it was every morning if you were up early enough, Justin. It was every morning if you were up early enough.
Okay.
So I watched that, and then Justice League was always on there too. And then Justice League was like redone in like the 90s, like the mid to late 90s, and it was on I forget what that block was called. It was before Adult Swim. I think it might have been called Toonami.
That sounds right.
And they had like mostly anime shows on there that had been ported from Japan and like dubbed. Mm-hmm. But they also had the new Justice League that was redone. And I loved that too. This one, it's funny because similarly to, well, we'll get into it, but the reboot of the Justice League became much less about like action like the old one was, and much more. And it was also interesting because the old one, looking back, I think was probably like propaganda to like support the formation of the United Nations.
Okay.
The Justice League reboot was like much more about like the interpersonal relationships between the characters and the drama of that.
Yeah.
And So as a kid, I was like, this is boring. I don't like it. But I think it was definitely aimed more towards like teens and like parents that would watch with teens.
Right.
So it's interesting.
Did you watch any of like the old Superman movies? Like
I never did, like with Christopher Reeve.
Yeah, Christopher Reeve ones back in the day. No, and
I never watched it.
None
I
of the
was not
Zack Snyder
interested.
Superman films with Henry Cavill.
No, I never watched any of those either. You know, the only DC stuff that I got into as an adult was, as we know, the Batman Rises trilogy.
Yeah.
That one. Who directed that? Christopher Nolan? Yeah. I thought those were excellent. And I was hopeful, because I was such a fan of all three of those films, even though the third one was panned quite a bit. I really liked it. I was hoping that he was going to continue on directing under this vision and do, you know, Wonder Woman and, you know, do Superman and other DC, Green Lantern, who was my favorite. I love the Green Lantern.
Interesting.
But he didn't do that, and that's too bad. And then, I don't know, the other stuff that Zack Snyder didn't really interest me.
Yeah. I was definitely a Marvel kid, so I was way more into like Spider-Man and X-Men than I was in the Justice League. But just as somebody who was like into comics, I did watch, I think my first film Superman was Superman Returns, which came out in like the mid 2000s. This was like a sequel to the Christopher Reeve Superman films from the 70s and 80s with a new cast. I think it had, God, what's his name? I'm totally blanking. House of Cards. Kevin Spacey was Lex Luthor in that movie.
Oh, wait, that makes so much sense, actually. That's good casting.
It was good casting. I remember being like, I don't think I get Superman, because I was like a teenager when I watched it, and I was like, I don't think I get what makes Superman interesting. And I think this is what filmmakers have been struggling with over the years, right? In the Snyder films, which I think I've watched Man of Steel and Batman v Superman. I have not seen the Justice League. In those films, Superman is more of a symbol, as like a god, and like the movie is really about how the world reacts to him more than it is about him as a character. And he's kind of infallible, you know, like
except for Kryptonite.
Except for Kryptonite, of course. We'll get into that. But yeah, so like I never really understood Superman as a character. I've been waiting for somebody to make like an interesting Superman film, honestly, because I haven't seen one. I haven't seen the original Christopher Reeves films, which I think are generally considered the best Superman movies.
You know, but I have to say this. I think a lot of people say things like that because at the time it was revolutionary and different and unique. And like, I remember my dad watching them sometimes when I was young, and he always wanted to know if I wanted to watch them with him, but I couldn't get into the live action because I was so used to, I only knew Superman and Justice League characters as animated things. And so then seeing it also in like the 1960s era kind of bad sci-fi, almost kind of, you know, with the practical effects and everything. Yeah. And him clearly laying on a table and they like green screened the sky flying behind him. Like, I couldn't get into it for that reason. Okay. And so, you know, there's like a patina on it that I think is like charming probably. But I'm like, does that actually mean that the story was great or the storytelling was good or the cinematography was anything to write home about? I think that there's just like a nostalgic patina that people really like, and they're like, oh, these are the best because it's like evocative of how they felt when they first watched it.
That's interesting. Yeah, because I didn't watch those original ones, I have none of that nostalgia. Yeah, and I think that Superman as a character is also nostalgic just for like an era of optimism. 100%. You know, he is an American creation, and I think that he is similar to Captain America in the Marvel universe in that way, where Captain America was created, and at least the highlight of his origin story is in World War II, when America was like this unambiguous good force in the world. Right. And like more modern Captain America stories are like how maybe some of those ideals that America has aren't reflected in like the actual American government. And sometimes Captain America clashes with the actual US government. And Superman has a similar arc, I think, in his most interesting stories, where it's like he's this bastion of good and the rest of the world doesn't necessarily follow by his example, you know? Right. And that brings us to, I guess, this new film. So, Geoff, overall big picture thoughts. What did you think of it? Did you like it? Did you not like it?
I was really surprised by this movie because I knew virtually nothing about it going into this, other than that you wanted to see it. So I was like, sure, I'll go with you. And, you know, I know some about Superman's history and like how he grew up and came to be on Earth and all that. I don't know a lot of like the ancillary Superman characters like Supergirl, the dog Astro, or whatever his name is. Crypto, thank you. Like, I'm not really familiar with the lore of all of that. So this movie was a lot different than I thought it was going to be. I did enjoy it. It had like a really interesting campiness about it that I did not anticipate, because I think that a lot of the superhero movies, even though there are bits of quote unquote comedy like sprinkled into them, they tend to be pretty like self-serious and be marketed as like action-packed dramas, as opposed to like being straight up comedies or parodies or whatever. Like there's like an element of self-seriousness about them, and I don't really think that this movie had a lot of that. I felt like I was being winked at like the entire time, with the dialogue, with things that were happening in the background, with nameless characters that had like quick one-liners. And, so I think it was like knowingly like a little bit cheesy, and knowingly like a little bit of making fun of the superhero movie formula.
Yeah.
What did you think?
I thought I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So like, I think there's multiple levels that you can evaluate this movie on, right? Like, was it an entertaining superhero movie?
100%.
Absolutely, yes. Is it like a game changer for superhero films? Because this is the beginning of a new universe.
Yeah.
I don't really think so.
Okay, that's interesting, because I kind of disagree with you.
I think this is very James Gunn. I think this is a new take for the DC universe.
Yeah.
But this is basically James Gunn, who was given the Guardians of the Galaxy in Marvel. Nobody knew who those people were.
Yeah,
right?
I've never even heard of them.
Those films were good. I think generally considered successes. And he worked wonders with those characters that nobody knew.
Sure.
Now they're just kind of, DC gave James Gunn bigger toys to play with, basically.
Right.
Now he's in control of the entire DC universe. He can play with Superman and Green Lantern, and like, he did a great job with it. But it's still very much in the lane of those Guardians films. Guardians was a little bit more sarcastic in tone.
Mm-hmm.
I think that this Superman film is very optimistic and sentimental in tone, which is good for a Superman movie, I think, because for Superman to be like appealing,
yeah,
you have to buy that he really believes in what he's selling. Which is
100%.
like, his characterization in this film is really cool, I think. He's kind of like a goober, he's like an idealistic.
Yeah.
He's not a himbo, like he's not an idiot,
No.
but he does have this idealistic streak where he's like, I'm just going to do what I think is best, and I feel really strongly about those beliefs. And then he runs up against this brick wall of like real life governments and people that have conflicted ideals about things.
Mm-hmm.
And Lois Lane, his love interest, kind of represents that wall.
Yeah.
She's like the seasoned reporter who is like,
she's a little jaded.
She's a realist.
And I was going to say, she is like, she's jaded by her world experience, jaded by her obviously strong journalistic past.
Mm-hmm.
She asks him difficult questions that kind of poke holes in his ideology, and he doesn't have great answers for them a lot of the time. And he's just like, well, we have to do what's right. And she's like, well, what if what's right is actually like really bad for people
illegal
in the short term,
or like breaks treaties or whatever.
Exactly.
And she doesn't disagree with him that what he's doing is right.
She's just like, it's interesting because it's like he hasn't really questioned any of those things because he's so morally upright.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, there's a difference between morality and legality, and there's a difference between, I think she's basically saying that there's nuance to the line of thinking that he has, and that he has to be considerate of how optics are going to be.
Yeah.
As a result of that, as a consequence of his actions, which I really liked, because I don't ever remember, and I was young, and knowing that women are historically completely underwritten flat characters, especially when we, in the 90s,
yeah.
when the Justice League was rebooted, and even, and especially back in the 60s when they were making the original Justice League. I don't really think that Lois Lane was quite that way. I think she was often like portrayed as like a vixen, and almost as like a foil to his morally uprightness,
mm-hmm.
because Superman, as he was like built in the 50s, was like a morally upright person who was sort of like an alien stand-in for like the American male ideal, who would never, just have a casual girlfriend or something like that. And so Lois was almost like portrayed as like a temptress, I think. And so I really liked Brosnahan's performance of a dynamic, modern take on this character.
I thought that the highlight of the film easily was the relationship between, Clark Kent / Superman and Lois Lane.
Yeah.
Like their ideological tension and their relationship, their romantic relationship, the tension there. It was great. Also, both extremely hot actors.
Hot.
Like there was actual chemistry, and I think great casting job by James Gunn for sure.
Absolutely. And I gotta tell you, Rachel Brosnahan, I love her. I love The Marvelous Miss Maisel. I know a lot of people got tired of it pretty quickly, but I stayed with that show all 5 seasons because Rachel Brosnahan's just an incredible actor, and she's so funny. I gotta tell you, her Botox on her forehead, that was the 3rd co-star of that film, Justin. Her eyebrows were nary moving. Nary a wrinkle on the forehead.
Incredible performance, beautiful woman.
But you know what's great is that she was still able to emote so much and like make you really care about this character.
Yeah.
Forehead frozen aside. That is a great actor who can do that.
Give her the Oscar.
I mean, I honestly wouldn't be surprised. So far, it seems like things are a little thin in terms of performance, but it is early in the year. Early in the year. But I think she was very good. I really liked it a lot. I thought she was great.
Okay, so I want to go back to...
I want to get pumped. Do you think I should get some Botox?
I encourage it.
I'm ready for it, I think. I move my eyebrows a lot, though.
Okay, so I want to go back to...
I guess we're done with that topic.
What I was saying earlier, which is that I don't think this is really a game changer for comic book movies. I think this is
why?
Just like a good example of what we've been doing. Because I think that...
But what about somebody like me who hasn't watched the poo-poo Guardians of the Galaxy? I think it's a game changer.
Well, I was going to ask you, what makes you think that this is like a big game changer?
Well, I haven't watched Guardians of the Galaxy because I'm not interested. And I do not really care for Chris Pratt anymore because now he's a real weirdo.
Okay.
Knowing that, I did not watch any of them, so I can't speak to what those were. But to me, this was really revolutionary in terms of the tone of the film was, again, not self-serious. There were some like jokes that were directly for the audience. That, you know, the conceit was of the conceit of Superman is that nobody knows that Clark Kent is Superman. But in this film, it was so clear to all their colleagues that worked at the Daily Planet, the stand-in for the New York Times, that everyone knows Clark Kent is Superman.
And hooking up with Lois Lane.
And it's so funny to me that like it's just not really addressed other than like the last few minutes of the movie where everyone's like, so how long have those two been hooking up?
Yeah, and they're like
probably 3 months.
He nails the exact amount of time they've been hooking up.
It's wild. That was new for me. I hadn't seen that. And there was just like a general campiness that I thought was really funny. There was the one scene that I was like losing my shit at because Lois and Superman are having like one of their like tete-a-tetes that we both agree was like
highlights
one of the best parts of the movie. And in the background, the Green Lantern is just fighting this gigantic like interdimensional being that's like floating over the city, and it's like never really addressed. There's a big noise, and Lois looks out the window, and Superman's like, "Oh, it's fine."
Yeah, Lois is like, "Should you help out with that?" And then Superman was like, "I think that's just like a demon spawn, so like they got it under control. Don't worry about it. Pretty harmless."
Yeah, it was just so fun. So things like that really were funny to me because I've never seen a movie being like, I know that this is cheesy and I know that this is like dumb, but I want you to know that we also know.
There's a lightness to it that I think is new, especially to the DC films. Like, this is so opposite to Zack Snyder's vision, which is like everything is so serious and we have to make it super grounded, and normal people have to be like, this is believable, even though you've got a man like in a cape flying around zapping things with laser eyes. You know what I mean?
I actually want to talk about the costuming too.
There's Underoos. Like, the Underoos. Superman has the trunks, the red underwear over the tights.
Is that something that they haven't had recently?
No, they were like, it looks goofy. And I think that's like an intentional choice in the film where it's like, we actually kind of want him to look goofy because he is a little bit goofy, and that's like appealing actually.
100%. That's what I wanted to say is like, I think that the campiness and the lightness, like the levity of the film is reflected in the costuming, because I noticed immediately he's like has the retro like sky blue uniform, the long flowing like bright red, not like a crimson, not like a maroon, deep blood red like cape, and there's no dark blue, there's no like modern looking scaling or anything like that, you know, to give visual interest to the texture of it. And he does have like those bright red, what are they called? Underoos?
Yeah, that's what
I've never heard of them. I love that. Underoos.
Yeah. I
like that because in an era when we have seen so many iterations of Superman and, you know, other huge comic book characters, Spider-Man, name more, Batman.
Yes, I mean, Batman and Spider-Man are the most rebooted, I think. Yeah.
They always like try to innovate and make their costumes more grounded, more realistic, and almost more like almost like athleisure looking. Like it looks like Under Armour could have produced their costumes.
Or like vaguely military, like they're a secret agent or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of cool to see them like fully lean into like, no, we're doing like hokey, like bright colors that are primary colors, like that were easy to produce for comic books back in the day, like the cyan color. Like, and so it was kind of cool to see them like go back into doing that and not try to make this look super modern.
Yeah, and there was a lightness to the world building too, I think, where instead of being like, hold on, let us explain how the Green Lantern's powers works and like what the Green Lantern Corps is, and like they're just like, we don't really give a shit if you like understand how this works, and you actually don't even need to really know how this works.
Right.
And what's most important is that we all have the touchstone of who Superman is.
Right.
He came to Earth as a baby. He's from an alien planet. Like, we all know this.
Raised by nice farm folk out in the Midwest in Kansas.
Exactly. So, like, we already all know this, and the movie is kind of just like, we don't need to get into the humdrum background.
Right.
You know, it throws us into the film right at the beginning with Superman losing a battle.
Yeah.
To this, like, unknown...
It throws us into the film with Superman being thrown into snow.
In Antarctica. Yeah. And he's been beaten by this, like, mysterious supervillain, what do they call it? Like, the Hammer of Bavaria or something?
Yeah.
So, like, we're like, okay, I don't even know what the fuck is happening. And you kind of just, like, you catch up through context, and they don't do a lot of exposition in this movie, which I think is a huge change.
It is a huge change, because I feel like for so long, we've been focused on, like, superhero origin stories. Like, how do they get their start? We want to be with them, like, from day zero.
Right.
And so it was just nice for us to just get right into the movie, right into the action, and learn everything, like you said, by context or through like previous intuition.
And James Gunn was just like, let's get to the fun stuff quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's the best part. And that's part of why I think this movie worked for me.
So the third way that I would say that we can judge this movie is through its political ideas. Because I do think that this movie has a political bent.
100%.
There have been some headlines about the wokeness, quote unquote, of this movie.
Oh, please, wokeness.
Which I'm
Too
just
much woke. Get rid of it.
So, yeah, I guess that's the other way is like, do you think that the movie was effective at conveying its political ideas?
I think so. I think their stance on billionaires is quite clear.
We haven't talked about Lex Luthor yet.
We haven't talked about Lex Luthor. And let's talk about Lex Luthor.
Yeah.
Because I remember him being like a crazy looking bald business bitch, and he was just like a money grubber and just wanted to basically own the world. And it wasn't until this film, to be perfectly honest with you, that I like reflected on how I thought of Lex Luthor as a kid. And I'm like, oh wait, we literally have a businessman that this is clearly modeled after, and it's just Jeff Bezos.
Yeah.
And like the parallels between this version of Lex Luthor, who's portrayed by that hot guy, what's his name?
Nicholas Hoult from The Great.
Does
a pretty good job, I would say.
I thought he was good.
Yeah.
I liked him. It's just like so clearly parallel to Jeff Bezos, as like impish as Bezos is, as fickle as Bezos is, as consumed by what everybody thinks of him and how he projects himself in the world as Bezos is. Like, it was so very clear that they were like, this guy is like pathetic, but he's so rich that he's very powerful, and that sucks.
And I think maybe unintentionally, because this movie was probably written before the recent election and before the administration took power. Maybe unintentionally, there's a lot of parallels to Elon Musk as well.
Yeah. And
also with the current administration's policies on immigrants and like the philosophy about immigrants. Like, we learned through the course of the film that, I mean, long story short, Lex Luthor is jealous of Superman and is bitter about his success as a superhero because he's an alien. And like, I think there's very intentional parallels drawn between Superman's experience as a literal extraterrestrial, and immigrants who some people in the US call aliens. You know, I think that was very clear. Like, there's even a black site for where Superman is taken at a certain point in the film that seems to be very obviously about like actual real life black sites in the US and, you know, camps where immigrants are held in the US. And it's crazy how timely it is, given, again, this movie was probably written like a year plus ago, and we're only seeing more and more of those parallels like come to light now.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't think that anybody who's been paying attention for the last like 10 years in politics didn't see a future in which this was quite possible. So I don't know that it was unintentional, but I think it is more obvious than ever. But I remember asking you as soon as the movie ended if you think that a lot of people who are watching this movie are going to see the parallels and accept that this is a very similar situation to what we're actually living through. And what did you respond? Because I thought it was very interesting.
I think that the immigrant parallel is the strongest political point that the movie makes.
Mm-hmm.
I think that part is kind of hard to ignore, because when you've got Lex Luthor calling him like an alien, and like we're taking him to the alien internment camp, like these are things that, like, I don't know, I can't imagine that anybody looks at this and is like, oh, I don't see any real life parallel to this, you know? I think less effective political statement has to do with this conflict between two fictional countries, Bavaria, and I'm forgetting the name of the other one.
I don't think it was Bavaria, because Bavaria was a country once. It was a kingdom of Germany.
Okay, let me look it up.
It's now a region of Germany. I think but it was something very similar sounding to that. Bahavia? Baravia. Yeah, that's what it was.
And the neighboring country that they are invading is Jarhanpur.
Well, I thought that was also very clear. I thought it was very interesting because there's a parallel here between, like, in this universe of this movie, what is it called? Bahavia? Baravia is sort of a stand-in for the Israeli government, and also like aided and abetted by the US, essentially.
I think that Baravia is a bit of an amalgam of like Israel, Russia, because the Baravian leader is very Putin-y.
Yes.
And the invasion, obviously, you know, we've seen recent invasions in history of Russia into Ukraine. As well as Palestine. Israel and Palestine.
Gaza.
Jarhanpur is occupied by what appears to be like South Asian people, so like a bunch of brown people. So
Myanmar.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of
it's
obvious
political
parallels.
Yeah. And basically, the president of Baravia, I keep wanting to say Bahavia, I don't know why. Baravia is like being puppeteered by Lex Luthor, by these billionaires that have like basically limitless power just due to their sheer wealth.
Yeah. I guess I just think that people will look at these two countries that are fictional, right? And this is something that DC does a lot more than Marvel, where they're like, we're going to make a fictional place instead of it being set in our world.
Yep.
They look at these two fictional countries and they're like, well, Israel's not really like that bad as this guy, you know?
Yes.
And I think that is where things are going to be less effective on the political side. And especially because there are some parts that I didn't really like about the way that conflict was resolved.
Yeah, it felt like it was wrapped up very neatly.
And you have
suddenly.
the people of this, like, what appears to be a majority minority country, and they're like cheering as this like mostly white team of superheroes like saves them. Yeah, you know, it felt very like Game of Thrones white savior stuff for sure.
I actually did want to talk about one thing I didn't like about this movie was that the majority of the cast was so white. Like, so white. There was the one character whose name I can't even remember.
Mr. Terrific?
Yeah, and Mr. Terrific, I don't ever remember him being a part of the Justice League.
He's a minor character, but James Gunn loves kind of like taking these smaller characters from the comics and like platforming them in a big way. And Mr. Terrific I think he had more screen time than like Lex Luthor. He was in the movie a ton. Yeah.
Yeah, he was the only like main character of color, I believe. I think Hawkgirl may have been played by a Latinx woman.
She was Isabella Merced, who was in season 2 of The Last of Us. Yeah,
that's right. But for a long time, the Green Lantern was portrayed as a black character in several different iterations, and so for me, it was a little tough to see a white guy take that role, because I was like, this is like kind of like canonically in recent years, not originally, but recent years, a black character, and a major one, and one that the black community like really likes a lot.
Well, here's what I'll say about Green Lantern is that because of the nature of the Green Lanterns in the comics, there's like a series of them. They're kind of like galactic police force in a way. And this guy, Guy Gardner, is the character played by Nathan Fillion, who's like one of James Gunn's favorite actors. He's in a bunch of his stuff.
Oh, is he?
Yeah. He is like an asshole in the comics, and I think he is intentionally playing up this like self-assured white guy that is like a little bit cocky. Okay. He's like a little bit of a foil to Superman in that way, where it's like he's almost influenced by Superman's like moral purity to actually do the right thing in the end. But I think he's intentionally an asshole. And I will also mention that there is a Green Lantern movie in production in this universe that has I think Aaron Pierre, who starred in Rebel Ridge, is rumored to play Green Lantern in that film.
That's great casting.
Which I think is incredible casting. So we do have a black Green Lantern coming along in this universe.
I'm not mad then.
Chiming in again just to say that the project that I'm talking about here is actually not a film. It's a TV series called Lanterns, which is going to be on HBO, starring Aaron Pierre. It's already filming as we speak. And one of the executive producers and writers is Damon Lindelof, who is a creator that Geoff and I both really love, like a whole bunch. Anyways, let's get back to the show. So I guess I just think on the political side, it's a little bit hit or miss for me.
Okay.
In terms of how successful it is. I am curious to see what the reception is moving forward with general audiences.
You know, I am too. Well, this is getting dark, I guess. I just think that the propaganda machine on the right is so strong that even if they saw the parallels, they'd be like, well, but, you know, these people in our real world are actually really bad, and here's why.
Yeah.
So, like, we shouldn't take this movie. This movie's, even though it has good messaging, it doesn't really apply to this situation.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's tough. It's hard to combat propaganda.
It is.
Which is something I think Marvel actually engages with a lot more than DC does.
I think Marvel is more
propaganda.
willing. Yeah, they're more willing to actually be like, this is what is wrong in our world.
Yeah.
Like X-Men stories are all about that. Right? Yeah. They're explicitly about like real life bigotry, not like Superman is an actual extraterrestrial. X-Men are like, often they are gay as well as being a mutant, right? Or like Magneto is Jewish in addition to being a mutant. So like a lot of those things are literalized in Marvel when they are not as much in DC Comics.
Yeah. I do think... Did you ever watch the Justice League, like the old cartoon when you were younger?
I've seen it, but I was not like a regular watcher. Yeah.
I was just curious if you thought it was also kind of like pro-US propaganda and also pro like United Nations.
I could see that. I just don't have as much of a familiarity with
Justin,
that kind of
stuff.
stuff.
Thoughts of the United Nations.
Moving on, another light weakness of the film was there's a sequence in the middle that takes place in like this space-like area without getting into spoilers. It's this not very realistic or real feeling area. And to me, that was like the weakest part of the movie.
I agree.
Visually, especially, like it felt very Marvel in that it was like clearly all of this is filmed in a green screen. Like Superman is floating down this like river of lava, holding like an alien baby up to save the baby.
That whole thing was very odd.
And it was just like...
The storyline with the baby and the elemental man that can transfigure
or whatever. Metamorpho, I believe, is the character's name.
Very odd.
Very strange. It was just like a bizarre... I guess they had to have like a conflict where Superman is defeated in the second act of the film and they needed a place for that to happen, but it felt very like everything filmed on a green screen, like worst parts of Marvel to me.
Yep.
Easily the worst part of the movie, in my opinion.
I have to agree with you. I'm not here for the baby creatures. That was trying to do baby creatures.
Let's talk about this.
Yeah.
Because this is something that James Gunn does in all of his movies.
Groot.
And is so aggressive in this film because we have Crypto the dog.
Yep.
We also have this alien baby. And it's like, James Gunn is so willing to just manipulate your emotions by being like, you worried about this dog? Well, you better watch the movie then, because this dog might die. Like, watch Superman kill this dog, or save this dog. Watch Superman kill this dog.
Save the dog.
I think there's even like a non-crypto dog that is almost stomped on by a kaiju at some point, like the big giant lizard.
Yep.
That was actually, during that fight, Superman saves a squirrel, which I think was, again, very like telling of what they were going at with him being a Boy Scout, right? Like he is such a goober that he can't even bear to like see a squirrel get crushed by this giant monster. But yeah, there's like all kinds of manipulation going on with like Crypto and with this other like non-super dog and with this alien baby. What did you think about those?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just like not here for that. I like dogs, but I'm not like a dog person, like capital D, capital P. And so like this was so clearly meant for like people that are. This film was very 4-quadrant. I'll say that.
Yes.
Without getting into the specifics of who I think was affected by what. But I think that like the animal stuff was definitely there for mostly for the kids and was just like unrealistic because I'm like, dude, we're talking about like billions of dollars of property damage, people's like houses being stomped down, people's cars on the street that are being driven are being knocked over, caught on fire and smashed, and we're not focusing on the death of the people that were clearly driving those cars.
Yeah,
I mean, know what I mean, like it's just like this, like it just feels like convenient, and like it feels like just like a ploy to like make kids cheer.
Yeah, it definitely is, and people who just like dogs.
It's cheap.
Capital D, capital P, dog people, like you were saying. I mean, I'm a dog person, and even I was like, this is getting a little much.
It's a bit much,
And
what about the Deus Ex Machina at the end of the film with the dog?
Yeah, why don't we quickly get into spoiler territory so we can talk about some of the twists and turns of the plot. All right, if you want to skip these very brief spoilers, you can go to the 1 hour 12-minute mark. Let's get back to the show.
I didn't like that.
I also thought it was bad. There was a few too many crypto moments for the final twist to also be like crypto saves the day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
There was a lot there.
I think the other two major twists were that the message that was sent along with Superman to Earth, along with him in the spaceship, was basically an order by Superman's dad, played by Bradley Cooper.
Was it though?
At first I was like immediately like, that's Bradley Cooper. And then I questioned myself for the rest of the film. I was like, is this just a guy who looks a lot like Bradley Cooper? Because he looked a little bit different.
Yeah, different is exactly the word. Miss Facelift?
I was not aware. Maybe I haven't seen him post facelift yet.
You certainly have now in that film. He looks different.
He looks different. But the message that he sends with
Siegfried and Roy.
The message he sends as Superman is basically for Superman to like conquer the world. He's like, the humans are idiots. You should probably take over Earth.
Yeah. He's like, be their god.
Right. And Superman was not aware of this. And this is kind of like the inciting incident that causes most of the population of Earth to turn against Superman and the governments of Earth to turn against Superman. So that was twist one, which I thought was actually pretty interesting and aligns with a lot of the like immigrant themes, where it's like, just because the country that you come from may have like a political stance that I disagree with, doesn't mean that you're a bad person.
Exactly.
Right?
Or that you believe in that.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And then the second big twist is that hammer of what's the name of the fictional country again? Baravia. The hammer of Baravia is actually a clone of Superman.
Yeah.
That Lex Luthor cloned. This is a character in the comics known as Bizarro, and that you may recognize as the name of the roller coaster in Six Flags New England.
I do.
So he's basically also played by David Cornsweet, and the climactic battle is like Superman versus Bizarro, with Lex Luthor playing Bizarro like he's a Street Fighter character, basically.
That was very strange. He kept being like A17,
which are all like moves.
It was like moves that this clone, who apparently like can't think for himself, has to be told to do.
Right.
It's very strange.
I get it, like, on an intellectual level. I'm like, I get what they're going for, but like the way that they portrayed it in the film, I was like, this doesn't actually make any sense.
No,
but it was such a light film and so silly in a lot of other ways that I was like, I don't care.
Yeah, and now I'm wondering if this movie actually is campy or not. I don't think it is, because like parts like that, I'm now realizing, like, I don't think that they knew that this was weird and bad.
Camp is difficult to define, I think, in general.
I think camp right in the eye.
I think this movie is very silly and goofy.
Yeah.
I don't think it's necessarily camp, outside of maybe like a couple of characters, which, let's talk about your favorite character in the film.
What was her name again? Candy Grace?
I'm also not a big Superman like comics fan, so I was not familiar with this character, but the character's name is Cat Grant.
Cat Grant.
She's portrayed by Michaela Hoover.
And let me tell you, Miss Grant there had a big-ass blonde wig, titties out for days, and she was sitting on the desk in a vixen-like kind of set...
legs crossed and a miniskirt.
Yeah. And she was, like, talking about one of their colleagues, and we joined into the scene, like, halfway through her conversation, where she's clearly, like, waxing poetic at Lois, like, not concerned whether Lois is actually listening to her or not. And it's like, yeah, and I just really think she's cheap and obnoxious. And it was so fucking funny to me. I was dying when she said that.
And she was like heavily featured in the final act, where like Lois is saving all the people on the Daily Planet, and she like gets on the spaceship, and I looked at Geoff, I was like, who is she? Like, why is she in the spaceship? Like, what is going on?
This is a thing where I'm like wondering if she had like other like comic appearances like earlier in different acts of the film, and they just ended up getting
They ended up cutting, yeah.
because she was heavily featured in the third act. But at the time I was like, oh, this is so funny that like suddenly it's like she has to save all these people that she's great friends with in the office, even though we have no idea who they are. So how close could they really be?
I think that her costuming was actually like camp. I think it was intended to be.
The leopard print, the red mini skirt.
Oh yeah.
Big titties, big blonde hair. I loved it. It was so funny.
The other character at the Daily Planet who I did not think worked as well was Jimmy Olsen, who is like typically kind of like Clark Kent's like reporter sidekick in the comics, I believe.
Okay.
And in this movie, he's portrayed by an actor.
He's been in a lot of things, but I can't remember his name.
Skylar Gisondo is his name.
Yeah, he's like a character actor.
He's does a fine job, but like the writing of his character is so weird. They're trying to give him like a Pete Davidson like BDE energy.
Yeah.
Where like women are inexplicably attracted to him.
It was certainly inexplicable.
It was inexplicable. Like there was no sense of that from him as an actor or a character outside of just like, oh, women are inexplicably attracted to him. It felt like it was from a very much like male gaze where it's like,
yeah,
why is this guy getting all the
Some
female
dudes
attention?
just get it.
Yeah, exactly.
Some dudes are just alphas, bruh.
And I don't think that really worked.
It didn't work.
Yeah.
It didn't work. Beck Bennett's character was kind of funny.
There was a lot of great little bit parts from like well-known comics in this film. I think Michael Ian Black played like a Tucker Carlson.
Yes, the Tucker Carlson stand-in. That was very funny.
Which was very funny.
He was great. I love him.
Yeah.
Yeah, Beck Bennett was fun. Oh, who was the person who played Jeff Bezos' girlfriend? I mean, Lex Luthor's girlfriend.
Yeah, Lex Luthor's girlfriend.
She was funny. I've seen her. I think she was in 9 Perfect Strangers.
I did not recognize her.
Yeah, I think she was in 9 Perfect Strangers on Hulu.
Yeah, so she was very much not in 9 Perfect Strangers. This character is played by Sarah Sampaio, who is a former Victoria's Secret model. I think who Geoff is talking about is Samara Weaving, who was in 9 Perfect Strangers. But let's get back to the show. Another thing I don't think worked very well was the Supergirl cameo at the end. With that's the next film coming out.
Millie Ashcroft loves to come into a series for about 10 minutes of work and then peace out.
Millie Alcock, I mean, she was in the movie for like 30 seconds.
Alcock?
She was fine.
Yeah, she loves to do that though.
Yeah.
She said, sign me up for 4 episodes of House of the Dragon and no more. And she said, sign me up for 30 seconds of screen time on Superman and nothing else.
She's going to be the star of Supergirl, which is coming out almost a year from today.
Let's talk about the next films. I'm curious.
Well, let's get into that. So, first of all, box office performance of this movie.
Yeah.
It's still early days. We're recording this on the Sunday after release.
I'm guessing it's pretty good.
The latest numbers are very positive.
We were in a packed theater, I'll tell you that.
The theater was packed. There was clapping at the end of the film.
Oh, I hate that. I hate that so much. I'm like, no one landed a plane. What are we doing?
It looks like domestically it's opening to 123 million.
Wow.
Which is better than Man of Steel opened to. Very good for a debut first superhero film.
Mm-hmm.
It's James Gunn's second best opening after Guardians Volume 2, which is a sequel again. So this is very promising for Warner Brothers, who has had like an incredible run this year. With Sinners, Minecraft movie, and Superman. They're doing great. And I think they were not doing so hot until very recently.
Yeah, last year they were not doing well.
I'm sure they are cheering over there at WB.
Do you know what the budget for this film was?
$225 million.
Really? That's crazy. Including marketing?
They usually don't include marketing in these numbers.
Damn.
But this is only opening weekend we're talking about, and it's already made $123 million.
Domestic. Oh, wow. This guy's going to get so famous now.
David Cornsweet?
Yeah. Also, that man is the size of a Sub-Zero refrigerator. They showed the first scene of the movie, they show him running in the office. This man is literally
so
like
funny.
Shoulders at the top of everyone else's head.
It's crazy. It's like, he's got like his messy hair as Clark Kent. He's got his glasses on and he's like running through the Metropolis crowd. And he looks like a giant compared to normal people.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was digitally altered to look like that, but otherwise I think he's just a very tall, like corn-fed man.
I mean, it's crazy. He's like obviously very handsome.
Yeah.
And like looks great in this movie, but he also has this air of like he's just a guy too. Like there's some scenes of him like waking up where he's not as carved out of steel as like Henry Cavill is.
Yeah,
he looks a little bit softer, which I think is a great choice.
What's his name? Cornsweet?
Yeah, Cornswet.
I gotta tell you, that's a terrible name. James Cornsweet.
David Cornsweet.
Oh, David Cornsweet. Oh, he went to Juilliard. Aren't we fancy?
But moving on to what is next for this franchise.
Where's his height?
You gotta look up David Cornswet height.
I'm looking that up now.
6'4".
Okay.
That's pretty tall.
Well, good for you.
So let's talk about the DC universe as it continues.
Okay.
So this obviously was the first in a new series of films from DC. The next film that's coming out is Supergirl. Comes out June 2026. After that, I'm going to list you the names of the films that have been confirmed.
Okay.
And then once I'm done, I want you to give me your take on the slate.
All right.
So we have Supergirl. Then we have Clayface. Then we have The Authority, The Brave and the Bold, and Swamp Thing. These are all of the films that have been officially announced for the DC universe. Geoff, what do you think of this upcoming slate?
I gotta tell you, I'm not very excited by this.
This is my issue.
Clayface?
This is my issue. I think a big part of the reason why this movie did so well is because it's just called Superman.
Yeah.
They're like, it's the Superman movie. You know?
What is Clayface about?
It would take a long time to get into the history, but it's kind of like a Batman villain.
Okay. Nope. I'm busy. What's next?
We know who Supergirl is.
Sure.
The
Millie.
Authority is a lesser known super team. That's not even really the superhero team. It's kind of like their gray area type super people in the Authority. The Brave and the Bold is like a Batman story, I believe. So that'll be a
Okay.
Batman film. And then Swamp Thing is, it's like a swamp monster.
Okay, so the Authority are all like bioengineered versions of like Superman and Batman and other.
I think again, I'm not really a DC Comics person, but I think they are essentially kind of like a created super team, as opposed to like the Justice League, which are like come from all these different walks of life.
Yeah. I'm happy to be wrong about this, but I don't think that any of those films are going to do great because they don't have like they're not on the tops of minds. They don't have like the pop culture cachet that Superman does.
I agree. I'm skeptical of the long-term success of this strategy, especially given that James Gunn is not directing all of these films.
Okay.
Like if he somehow could clone himself and direct, at this point he's made mostly superhero movies. He's made 3 Guardians films, the Suicide Squad for DC, and now Superman. He's obviously an expert at this. He's good at it.
The Suicide Squad, I don't think that did great either, did it?
It did well critically.
Critically?
It's a little bit confusing because there is a film just called Suicide Squad, which was very like serious and dark. And then there was a sequel to that called The Suicide Squad, directed by James Gunn. And that one was much lighter and did pretty well.
Oh, wow. It has 90% on Rotten Tomatoes and a 7.3 average score from IMDb.
His movies have been pretty well received.
Interesting.
So I believe in him to like rise up some of these lesser known heroes, but the talent assigned to some of these films I'm not familiar with.
Yeah.
Like Andy Muschietti, who is the guy who directed the Flash movie, which was like, by all accounts, total garbage.
Yeah.
Is directing the Batman movie.
Oof.
I'm like,
That's
why?
tough. That's so tough.
So yeah, I don't really know about the long-term prospects of this series, but you know what? I feel like I can respect that Superman was pretty good in isolation, and that's fine. Yeah.
That's fine. I just, this is my thing, I guess, generally about IP, which I know we've talked about before. Like, sometimes it's not worth reviving, and it's not worth, like, hedging your bets on, like, old ideas being regurgitated in different forms. And, like, I think for Clayface, for the Swamp Thing, whatever the fuck it's called, the Authority, like, I've never heard of them. And I'm not really interested to learn a whole new thing. Like, I saw Superman because it's Superman.
Yeah.
And that's it. Like, I think this is a time in which we should be trying out new things. Like, this is what I don't get. Television and movies go through phases where it's like they're doing all kinds of new things and new ideas, and then a few of those things will really catch on and stick, and they become like the new golden age. And then after that, they're like, oh, guys, none of our new ideas are working, so, like, let's just go back to the old shit. And then that flops, too.
Yeah.
Like, never has anything really, I think, except for, like, probably the first couple of years of Marvel and the first, the Christopher Nolan Dark Knight trilogy. Like, those are the only ones where, like, the regurgitation of IP, like, really worked well. Everything else has been middling.
I think, this is kind of what I was saying when we were talking earlier about, like, is this a game changer for superhero films? While this is a very good version of what Marvel has been doing, Like, it's a very good version. It's still what Marvel has been doing.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I don't think, like, it's kind of a miracle that Marvel films were as good as they were from Iron Man to Avengers Endgame. And ever since then, that model has been collapsing.
Yeah.
So we
100%.
see Marvel movies are not at a level of, critical success or commercial success that we've seen prior to Endgame.
Superhero stuff.
Huh?
People are tired of superhero stuff.
It's like Westerns. You know, like Westerns had a huge moment and everybody was making a shit ton of Westerns. They were doing really well. Westerns still exist today, but they're not like the box office juggernauts that they were at their peak.
They're big hits on Paramount Plus.
Yeah, that's true. Yellowstone.
Yep.
The dads love that shit. Yeah.
Dads, grandparents. Grandparents, mama.
But I guess that's what I'm saying is, like, I don't see this rejuvenating the superhero model.
I don't either.
I see it as being a good superhero film.
I see what you're saying.
And I think that the superhero genre as a whole is going to slowly keep declining,
Yeah, it's just played out at this point.
It's a bit unfortunate, but we see other, cinematic successes coming out of this year, like Sinners.
Sinners was great. A new and original idea.
Right. And I think those things are becoming more common, and I think it's great that we see a big corporation like WB diversifying their output a little bit, right?
Yeah.
They are making these superhero movies, but they're also doing original stuff, which I think is cool and has worked out for WB this year so far.
I think they need to do the Superman stuff, and I think we should table these other ideas if they're not already in production. I want people in that sector to be working for sure, but I feel like work on something else. Let's give them something with like new potential to work on, because I don't know about any of that.
So Geoff, any final thoughts on Superman before we break?
Well, I think I'm really inspired to get my first treatment of Botox. And you know what? I think I'm going to get myself a pair of Underoos.
Oh,
and just wear them out.
Bring that back?
Wear it out. Why not? I got to try it.
Sure.
It worked for this man. Maybe it'll work for me too.
Hell yeah.
I'll go to the club. I could bedazzle them. I'm an expert rhinestoner now after my Cowboy Carter outfit.
We're talking about how long it took.
Look right there. There they are. Look at those chaps.
Wow.
Look at that horse.
Very evenly dispersed among the chaps.
I'm truly now an expert rhinestoner. So ask me any questions, listener dears, write in, and I will let you know. I'll give you advice on how to rhinestone your most beloved garments.
Yeah, I like this movie. I am a James Gunn believer. I think, if we have to have superhero movies in 2025, I'd rather James Gunn be making them than almost anybody else at this point. I think
What about Christopher Nolan?
I'm happy that he's making interesting, original films that are not superhero films.
Okay.
I like that he made like Dunkirk and Oppenheimer, those movies rule. And while Dark Knight was an all-time classic, I'm glad that he's not just only making superhero films,
I am too, but I'm like, maybe let's bring back Christopher Nolan. For like one or two.
We'll see. I mean, I don't think he would do it, honestly.
I want to see Robin with, what's his face there? 500 Days of Summer.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt?
Justin Gordon-Levitt. They always left that as like a possibility.
Yeah.
I would watch
I think
one.
he's too old now.
Yeah, now he's old, just like us.
The Brave and the Bold will have Robin in it.
Do you think he'll be reprising his role?
Definitely not.
I don't think so either.
Yeah.
I think they're going to get a young whippersnapper, an unknown. And we love that.
We do love an unknown. David Cornsweet, relative unknown.
Relative unknown.
Yeah.
He's about to be very well known in my Google search history. James Cornsweet shirtless.
David
Cornsweet shirtless.
And with that, let's take a quick break and we'll be right back with our What's Goods.
And we're back. Justin, it's been a wonderful episode.
This has been a great convo. I'm very happy that you enjoyed Superman. I wasn't sure how you'd feel about it. I wasn't sure how I'd feel about it, to be honest.
And did it surprise you that I was into it? Did you go in thinking I was going to be like, no?
After having watched the movie, I would suspect that you would like it.
Okay.
But going in, I was like, I don't know. Like, if this is just more superhero shit, I think Geoff might not be into it.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad I could defy expectations. And speaking of defying expectations, Justin, well, this is not a good segue, actually.
Speaking of expectations, let's keep to them and talk about what's good this week.
I love that. Great job. Great segue. Justin, tell me what's good this week. What's good with you? What do you got cooking?
Well, recently I finished a novel. I finished a novel called Big Swiss by Jen Egan. This is a book that I picked up solely because of the premise that was on the back. I thought it sounded like a really funny idea.
And what was such said premise?
The premise is that our protagonist is named Greta, and she is a transcriptionist for a sex therapist. Already,
Love
I'm
that.
like, the gossip is so hot, right? Like, imagine having this
The
job.
gossip, the tea
is so hot.
Piping.
So I was like, okay, you have me already with the hook here.
Yeah.
Now, Greta is reading the transcript of one of this psychiatrist's patients, whose name she does not know.
HIPAA.
But in her therapy session, she learns that this patient has never had an orgasm in her life. You know, with a partner or otherwise, even solo. She's never succeeded in achieving orgasm.
Okay.
She also has this like really interesting affect where she's kind of like she's gone through a trauma in her past, but she's very like, I'm a big girl. I can handle myself. And like, I'm not affected by the trauma.
Big girl.
And this is appealing to Greta, our protagonist, because Greta is dealing with trauma as well, but she's very affected by it. So she becomes completely obsessed with this patient who she calls Big Swiss. The name of the book, of course.
Love that. Big Swiss.
She is Swiss and she is tall. She learns through the transcript, so this is why she calls her Big Swiss. And eventually, she comes across her in real life and uses her intimate knowledge of Big Swiss's sex life to begin a hilarious affair with Big Swiss, who does have a husband.
Damn.
So it's kind of like
I'm hooked.
It's a black comedy lesbian romance book. It's hard to
sapphic read.
It's hard to describe what makes this so funny, other than Greta is just like so horny, and so unhinged and like fucked up of a person, that it is like watching a train crash in slow motion, watching her go through this process of the affair with Big Swiss.
Man, Hulu is rubbing their hands together. They're ready for a series based on this book.
There is a series in production based on this book.
I love it.
So Jodie Comer of Killing Eve fame and of 28 Years Later fame, we talked about that
of course
a couple weeks ago. She is a producer on this show, and she is going to star as Big Swiss, which I think is like a great casting choice, because I think there are a lot of parallels between this and Killing Eve, where it's like a unexpected sapphic romance, where you've got one woman who's kind of like a stoic, tall, like blonde Aryan type, and another one who's like a total mess, you know?
Yeah.
So there is a television show in production.
I love that.
In terms of themes, you know, it does actually have some ideas outside of the black comedy of it all, and it is probably the funniest book I've read in recent memory for me. I feel like it's actually hard to do comedy in like a novel format. This is really funny. But on top of that, it's about trauma, and it's about how both Greta and Big Swiss are dealing with their trauma, and kind of the flaws with both like the over obsession with therapy in today's culture, where people are like talking to their friends and using therapy like language in ways that maybe aren't even appropriate, right, for like how they should actually deal with trauma. The issues with that side, and then the other side where it's like we can't just ignore our trauma. Like we have to deal with it. We can't just like will ourselves past trauma, right? And Greta and Big Swiss are kind of like on opposite ends of that spectrum in this novel. So yeah, I thought it was really funny, really interesting. I'm excited to watch the TV show when it comes out. Again, the book is called Big Swiss, and it's by Jen Egan.
Well, would it surprise you to learn that my What's Good is also about therapy?
Oh, well, let's hear about it. Jeff, what's been good with you this week?
I have to tell you, my evenings have been absolutely cannibalized by this wonderful program on Paramount Plus with Showtime called Couples Therapy.
Okay.
Have you heard of this show before, Justin?
I believe you've texted the group chat about this show.
Because I need everybody to be watching it. It is so good. I need 10 more seasons of this. The whole show it's a documentary series, and it follows between 5 and 4 couples each season, and they all go to the same therapist, who is named Dr. Orna Gruvalnik. She's amazing. She's a wonderful therapist, and it's really cool. Well, I think it's actually, now I'm thinking of it, I think it is just 4 couples each season. I think there was one season where I thought there was going to be a 5th. No,
Can I ask
can't
a
remember. It doesn't
clarifying
matter.
question?
Sure.
So this is not fiction. This is a real
therapist. This is a real
Wow.
documentary series.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Based on these 4 couples each season going to couples therapy.
Mm-hmm.
The first 2 seasons are like 10 episodes each. The second or the third season, and I'm not sure about the fourth because I just started the first episode of that the other day. But the third season is like 20 episodes, so you get like 2 sets of 4 couples each in that season. But you basically watch these couples for 10 weeks go to therapy sessions with this same therapist. But then what's cool about it is you also see Dr. Orna at home with her family, and you also see her with her peer-to-peer group, where they talk about like the issues they're having and try to bounce ideas off of each other and how they could differently approach the couples that are giving them a hard time, where they feel that they're not being effective. And then you also see Dr. Orna sessions with her clinical advisor. It is such a fascinating show. It's sometimes really funny. It's oftentimes very heavy, and it's so fascinating to me as someone who's like chronically single, like seeing all the complexities of relationships and how you can see, well, how I can see like patterns repeating themselves over and over in many of the different couples, and also how very differently people approach issues and conflict in their relationships. It's so fascinating. I have not yet seen one couple where I'm like, wow, you guys are really doing it right. Like, everybody is so deeply flawed, carry shit with them from their childhood well into adulthood. Some of the people on the show are like in their 60s and have been married, you know, for like 35 years. Some of them are like couples that have been together for like 2 years and are running into issues. One of the most fascinating couples was a young couple in Brooklyn. I think they were both like 25. They are queer, 2 women, and one of them really wanted a polyamorous relationship, not just like an open relationship or a relationship where they're sexually open, but like having multiple partners that she has feelings for, has an emotional bond with.
Right.
And watching them navigate that relationship with Orna, who is herself a mom, has 3 kids, I think, and is like in her like 50s, watching her try to like earnestly understand polyamory, which was like something she of course had training in and knew about, but hadn't really had a couple working through the idea of it, was very fascinating. It's also very fascinating because one of the women in this relationship, the one who did not want to be polyamorous, is from Palestine, and Orna is from Israel. And Orna has made it very clear she does not support the state of Israel's actions. And it was really fascinating watching the two of them talk about their shared experiences in the Middle East, having family that still live in Israel and Gaza. And this part was filmed like just as the attacks in Israel were happening.
Man.
So it's very fascinating to watch them talk about it openly with each other, and they actually develop a really nice relationship. Orna's always very professional, of course, but
yeah,
you know, a boundary but friendly relationship. So it was really cool to watch. Yeah, it's honestly some of the most compelling television I've watched in like years. Every episode, I'm like, I have to watch another one, like one more before bed.
Being a therapist is such an interesting position too, because you have to like professionalize talking about somebody's like very personal issues and often intimate issues.
Yes.
And like having to kind of wall yourself off in a way. And I think it would be so interesting to see a little bit behind the scenes of like being a therapist for that reason, where it's like maybe she talks differently about the couples with like her peer group than she does when they're present, you know.
She absolutely does.
I feel like there was this period in the 2000s where like a therapy session became kind of like a trope of a TV show, like Post Sopranos, I feel like.
Yeah. Yep.
And then there were even like shows where therapists would go to their therapist and like talk to them about stuff.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
like
Dr. Melfi did that in The Sopranos too.
Exactly. So like I think about that a lot, just like that relationship and how everybody just has their own issues. And, yeah.
Well, it's also so fascinating to me because like Orna, if I were to meet her on the street, I'd be like, she must be a psychiatrist or, you know, must work in psychiatric related things, because she just presents that very calm, grounded, and inquisitive sort of
energy,
nature.
aura.
Yeah. But then like her clinical advisor, whose name is Virginia, she looks like a Central Park bag lady. You know, like she just looks like one of those like real broads that like has lived in the city and has like lived in her same pre-war apartment for 40 years. And she like clearly has white hair, but she dyes it like a shocking bright red color. I love when Virginia's on camera. She always is so, her mannerisms are funny. Her and Orna has such like a fun dynamic, and they have such like respect for each other. I just really love watching it. It's strangely a feel-good show.
This is really appealing to me. I might
it's
check
quite
this out.
cathartic too. Yeah, so highly recommend everybody watch Couples Therapy. You can stream it on Paramount Plus with the Showtime add-on. I think it ends up being about $15.99 a month. And I gotta tell you, it's worth every penny. I love that shit.
Geoff, this has been a wonderful episode, a super episode.
A superb episode, one might say.
Thanks for seeing the movie with me. It was a lot of fun.
It was fun.
Yeah.
And thanks for being here today, Justin.
Always a pleasure to be recording in person.
It sure is.
It's great.
And we end every episode with a song.
Bye.
I'll be your shotgun rider till the day I die. I thought you had high.
Nope.
Okay. This has been BANTS with Geoff and Justin. BANTS is created and produced by Geoff Taylor and Justin Benavidez. Graphic design by Geoff Taylor and editing by Justin Benavidez. The theme music for BANTS is the track Nebraska With You by Sam Day and is provided by No Copyright Sounds. Email us at bantspod@gmail.com with questions, recommendations, or just to say hi. And if you like the podcast, rate and review us on Apple or Spotify and tell your friends. Bye.
See ya.
Watch me.